So this is one of those hands I wrote up just to consider specific suits in isolation. And you may have figured out that on this hand, we're going to be talking about the heart suit. This is a really interesting idea that I learned a long time ago from Mike Lawrence's great book called Opening Leads. And it pertains to the idea of leading a suit against no trump when the suit you want to lead has been bid by declare or dummy. And one of the reasons that it's a little counterintuitive is that we're often taught to lead through strength. And so there's kind of a greater tendency to want to make that lead when dummy has bid the suit and not declare. But in fact, it's really much better the other way around. And so the idea is that even though leading through strength, when you can see the hands or when you can infer strength, is a good idea, leading through length at no trump is not such a good idea. And the reason for that is that the suit can continue to be played at no trump, right? You don't get to a point where declare or dummy is out of the suit and gets to rough in and the party's over. And as the hand or the suit develops, those cards that dummy has behind yours make for a big headache. So, and again, here we're only thinking about the heart suit. This is obviously a very contrived situation to just kind of take a look at it in isolation. So this is a situation where, and I'll mention and put in the room a couple of specific auctions, but this is the situation where dummy has bid the suit. You can see if we lead the heart suit, well, let's force East Jack. Declare is going to win that. And then I've actually loaded the hand so that the defense can't get in again. But if the defense were to get in again and lead hearts, right, West can split honors and force the ace. But declare's got two tricks, and we've set up one for the defense, and if we cash it, declare gets a third trick. Right? So it's 3 out of 4 for declare, and it takes a bit of work to do. We have to, we have to lose the lead twice, and we can't take our third trick without setting up, we can't take our one trick without setting up a third trick for declare, right? But contrast this. This is the exact same heart suit. All I've done here is switch dummy's hearts for declare's hearts. So last time around, declare had the doubleton king, dummy had ace 9 8 third, right? Now look what happens in this situation. Now either defender can play a heart, right? It's not a situation where the lead has to come from one side. And if either defender gets in, we immediately have 2 heart tricks ready to go without setting up an additional heart for declare. So you can see that in this situation, even though declare's hearts are identical, declare's side, right? Declare plus dummy. It works out much more favorably when the length is in declare's hand and not in dummy's hand. And here's a different example where it's even. Sorry, let me claim here. Here's a different example pairing of hands where it's even more sort of pronounced. So again, declare plays small, the queen forces the ace, And in this situation, declare can immediately finesse for the jack and take 3 tricks. And it would be a while if he did that. We'd have to get in after 3 heart tricks were gone to get our 4th round heart. And if declare is feeling really gutsy and trusts the rule of 11, declare might even finesse the 8, taking a 2nd trick and remaining with the king 10 behind the jack, and we wouldn't get any tricks at all. Right, so we can clearly see that even though we're leading through strength, this is a very, very unfavorable situation for the defense, right? Pretty clearly. But look what happens when we switch declare's hand and dummy's hand. And ducking may help declare's timing a little bit, but partner can still knock out the ace and have a 3rd heart to lead through the king to our jack. So it kind of sort of delays the situation, but doesn't really change much, right? Now, when either side gets in again, we go from taking no tricks to taking 2 tricks, assuming partner can get in. Sorry, not either side. We need partner to lead through the 10. But we've definitely set up 1 trick, even if partner never gets in. And if partner gets in, we take 2 tricks. And again, declare and dummy, exact same cards. They're just distributed a little bit differently. Now, there's a couple things to note about this. One of them is that for this to be effective, as it has been here, we need to have good spot cards. So if we have like queen 6-4-2, it's not going to be good regardless of how declare's hearts are situated. But when we do have good spot cards, it matters a lot whether declare or dummy has bid the suit. So when dummy has bid the suit, it's usually best to try to find another lead. But if declare has, and we have length and we have good spot cards, that's not necessarily a reason to dissuade us from leading the suit. And I'm going to put a couple of auctions in the room here. And this will be auctions where our side doesn't bid. So this is just declare side bidding. So this is the situation where that's declare on our right opens a diamond, dummy bids a heart, declare bids a no trump. And that's what has been the first situation in these hand pairs where dummy has a suit. And on this auction, if we have hearts, it's usually not going to be a good idea to lead them because dummy has length behind us. But the very similar sounding auction is this one. Oops, sorry, forgot a bid. Guess we have to get to no trump, huh? So on this auction, declarer on our right is the one who bid a heart. And this is the auction where if our heart holding looks suitable, it could be a perfectly good idea to lead hearts. And one reason the main reason I bring that up is that I think that intuitively, to me, and this is a book I got a long time ago, and it's an idea that I've kind of incorporated into my thought process. It still seems counterintuitive. It still seems very natural to want to lead through dummy's heart suit. Okay. Any questions about this situation? All right, apparently not. Um, let's see. Let's see what hand number 3 is. Oh, okay. So here's one where I have to do, do, do. Yeah, when Declare has 5 cards in the suit, then it's pretty much never going to be a good idea to lead that suit at no trump, and very rarely at a suit contract. So good question. We're definitely talking about a situation where we would expect Declare has 4 cards in the suit. Okay, so here's an actual something that looks a little more like an actual hand. And this is something I think I mentioned in the comments to the lead thing that went out. So the traditional advice is 4th highest from your longest and strongest. Now this is a very exaggerated case, but it kind of illustrates just a general thought process that I always put myself through when I'm on lead against no trump, because when the opponents are in no trump, most of the time you have a pretty good idea um, how many points they have within a certain range. Now on this auction, not necessarily. We have a good idea of South's points. North, can have anything from, let's say, 10 points up to maybe 14 or so. You probably still wouldn't look for a slam. So that's a 5-point range, which is a little bit wide, but normally you can kind of assume the midpoint and then say to yourself, plus or minus 2 or 1 or whatever. First thing I'm asking myself is it more likely that I have a stronger hand than my partner, or vice versa, or are they equally distributed? The defense's points fairly equally distributed. Obviously, in this case, partner has a stronger hand than we do, and so my sort of default setting, it's not automatic. You have to consider the quality of the suits and et cetera, et cetera. But my the first thing that I tend to default to is that I want to lead the longer suit in the hand of the partner with the better hand. So here, pretty obviously, it's not going to be easy to make any sort of use out of those diamonds, right? It's barely possible. I mean, partner could have ace king third. I could lead my 4th best diamond. Partner could lead the ace and the king, dropping Declare's doubleton queen. Maybe partner leads the 3rd round to my jack, and we take 5 diamond tricks. It's not impossible, but it's very much against the odds. And so rather than lead my best suit here, I think it's going to definitely be preferable to look for partner's longest suit. A spade could be right here. I would lead my shorter major though. I would definitely lead the 9 of hearts on this hand. And in fact, let's so we can kind of get an idea of how the play might go a couple different ways. Like, for example, if we did lead that diamond, now Declare is going to, first of all, Declare is going to want to knock out the ace of spades and the king of clubs, right? Safest to play clubs now, because Declare should trust that we have the jack of diamonds, right? Because unless partner is, really, really excited about trying out his new false card book, we can assume that playing the queen means no jack, which means diamonds are doubly protected. So probably best for Declare to knock out the spade first, because if the diamonds are situated so that we have an awful lot of them, you want to knock out the king of clubs into the safe hand. Like if diamonds were, let's say 6-2, assuming that whoever wins the ace of spades knocks out another diamond, then East would be out of diamonds. And so you don't want to finesse into the king of clubs. Well, East still has a diamond, and then maybe we have the ace of spades. So Declare's, presumably trying to time the play. And we can see, looking at all the hands, it doesn't really matter when East takes the ace of spades. It's time for a drink. Good call. Now, it's basically, we can finesse the diamond, and we know that we can. We have 2 diamond stoppers, we have 2 heart stoppers, we have 2 spade stoppers. Doesn't really matter which red suit or which suit that East plays. So let's say that East plays the diamond. And even though that loses, and even though East has a 3rd diamond, since the spades and the clubs both split, we can see that that we have the rest of the trick. So that's what, making 5. Okay, but starting out with the heart, we have a little bit of trouble, because unsurprisingly, East is the one with the entries. Now, in this case, the lead of the 9 suggests shortness, and suggests that it's East's suit that's being set up. And maybe Declare would duck the first heart, but in this case, with East having everything, it doesn't really matter. Let's just say we win, since it doesn't matter. In this case, it's definitely better for Declare, since East's suit is getting set up, to play clubs first. Because it's possible that the ace of spades is in the west hand, but of course it's not. And if Declare plays this way, just hoping that West has the ace of spades and no more hearts, then East wins this trick and has 3 hearts to cash. If Declare doesn't want to give up the lead, then Declare's not getting any spade tricks, and so with 2 tricks in the bank, Declare can take 3 clubs as 5. Ace king of diamonds only gets us to 7. You can see we get a much different and a much better result for the defense. So the 4th highest, longest, and strongest obviously depends on the auction somewhat. What suits has Declare or dummy shown? What suits has your partner shown? But as a default rule, it's much better advice when when we have the better hand than partner, because we have entries. We can we're more likely to be able to get in and to actually use the suit. Yeah, so the other thing is the inference from the auction. That's a good question, which I was meaning to get to. So um, when dummy doesn't bid on a no trump auction, it goes one no trump, pass, 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 then you can't really infer much about dummy's distribution. You can probably infer that dummy doesn't have a 5-card major, because even with a bad hand opposite a no trump opener, or maybe especially with a bad hand, it's a good idea to transfer and pass into 2 of a major. But when dummy has at least invitational values, so you get a Stayman, or you get a 1 no trump, 2 no trump auction if people play that invitational, or 1 no trump, 3 no trump, then you can infer with a really, really high likelihood of accuracy that dummy doesn't have a major suit, which makes it more likely that the defense is going to be better off in the majors. And also, dummy is going to have 7 or more cards in the minors, right? Which means that minor suit leads are less likely to be productive. So yeah, if for example we had let's say, I don't know, let's say our 4 of clubs was the 4 of spades, so that we had a doubleton 9 of hearts and a doubleton 9 of clubs. The inference from the auction would be that, even though it's no guarantee, North is likely to have longer clubs than hearts, since North didn't bid Stayman, and that would argue for a major suit lead. But again, when it goes 1 no trump, pass, 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 or 2 no trump, pass, 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 you can't make that inference with nearly as much reliability. Yeah, 2 no trump, 3 no trump. So if North is strong enough to bid and would have bid Stayman, this is sort of a the dog that didn't bark in the night sort of thing. You draw inferences from what the opponents bid, because when you're on opening lead, obviously the opponents have done some bidding, but you also can draw inferences from what the opponents didn't do, right? In this case, bid Stayman. One of the more interesting theoretical debates about leads that came up was about leading singletons versus leading sequences. And Mike Lawrence spends a lot of time cautioning against questionable singleton leads. You have King X of hearts. Are you talking about on that 2 no trump, 3 no trump auction? Oh, here. On this auction, I would probably lead a doubleton King of hearts. I wouldn't mind that. In fact, it kind of goes to something that we've talked about later in the hand in previous sessions, which is the principle of minimal help. If I have nothing in hearts, it may feel safer to lead the suit, but then, partner has to do all the heavy lifting on his own in hearts, right? If I have a doubleton king, it means that less is required from partner for the lead to work out. And so I wouldn't mind leading from a doubleton honor on this auction, where I assume, let's say dummy has maybe 11 points, give or take, maybe 12, declare has 16 plus or minus 1. So the declare side has, maybe 27, 28 points. I have only a jack. So I expect partner's got about an opening hand. Now, if the auction starts out 2 no trump, even though they didn't look for slam and they're sort of in the same range, the stronger declarer's hand is, the less likely I am to want to make a lead like that, right? Leading an honor or leading from an honor there's just more of a danger that the key cards are going to be in declarer's hand, where if I sit back with my king, I'm really likely to get it against a 2 no trump opener, and maybe I'm kind of less worried about trying to make something happen. But clearly, I think on this auction, partners got some points, and if they include like the queen jack or the queen 10, leading the king should still be a good start. And I lost connection. Are we still on the Zoom call, Babs? Because I think I went through.
Yep, I've still got you.
Okay. I'm having like a Wi-Fi issue here. Connecting, please wait. Well,
If you lose you, we'll know what happened.
I don't know. Hopefully I'm having a temporary wireless issue here. Well, let me talk sort of let me go back to Trump leads then, because that was something I sort of wanted to talk. I have a few hands I had prepared for today, but I also wanted to talk about a lot of general considerations and probably some misconceptions. One thing that was going to be a part of the next hand, the singleton versus sequence thing. And people need to vote, even see you, even though I'm locked out of the room here. Babs is watching you. So if one of your opponents playing a standard American system, whether it's either straight up standard American or 2/1, opens one club, what's the most common number of clubs that person has? See, this is why in Australia they force people to vote. I've heard. I'm going to reset the router. Is anybody daring to take any guesses, Babs?
Yep, they're all on the table, and we've got a 4, we've got a 2+, I've got a 4 and 3 3s.
All right. Most common is 4. Playing a standard, 5-card major Americanish system. Now here's a question though. What's the second most common? If you were cheating and somebody opened a club and your cheating partner told you that person didn't have 4 clubs and that was all you knew, what would your second guess be?
3. Where are you on BBO? Are you still here?
How many votes we got? Questions are getting harder. Are they chickening out, Babs? Are people voting?
Well, we lost your table, so.
Oh no. Okay,
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
So I will tell you what I think people would be saying if we had access to this table here. People would be saying, I think the majority vote here would be 3.
That's the majority. Yep.
And this is incorrect. Second most common holding would be 5 clubs. And believe it or not, depending on what conventions you play and what system, 3 and 6 are about equally likely. 3 for most people is probably more common than 6, but it's not a lot more common. And right now, people are thinking, well, that can't possibly be true. because you're a lot more likely to be dealt 3 clubs than 6 clubs, because 6 clubs is almost half your hand, right? And that's correct. You are more likely to be dealt 3 clubs than 6 clubs. But when you're dealt 6 clubs and 10 or more points, you're almost always going to open a club. When you're dealt 3 clubs, if you have 5 spades or 5 hearts, which you almost never do when you have 6 clubs, but when you have 3 clubs, you might very well have 5 spades or 5 hearts, in which case you're not going to open a club. You're going to open a spade or a heart. If in addition to your 3 clubs, you have 4 diamonds, you're not going to open a club. You're going to open a diamond. Even if you don't have 5 spades or 5 hearts or 4 diamonds, if you have 15 to 17 points, you're going to open a no trump, which is a bid you almost never start with when you have a 6-card club suit, right? So it's not that you're more likely to have 6 clubs than 3 or 5 clubs than 3. It's that when you have 3 clubs, you're much, much more likely to have an alternative opening bid. Whereas when you have 6 clubs and, again, 11 points or more, 1 club is almost always your choice. And the reason I bring that up is that people will often lead clubs when the opponents have bid them because they don't really trust that the declarer's club suit or dummy's club suit is a real suit. Because, short club, convenient minor, whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time, it is at least a 4-card suit, and still more likely to be a 5-card suit than a 3-card suit. And so until you have reason to believe otherwise, it's usually in your best interests to treat that 1 club opener like a real suit, because most of the time it is. Let me see if
That really makes sense. I've never thought of that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good. There's a lot of.
I always assume it's 3 for some reason.
Yeah, it's very natural because you're more likely. Now, if I said, okay, we just shuffle the deck and deal you a 13-card hand, how many clubs are you likely to have? The answer is 3, right? Because 13 divided by 4 suits is 3.25. It's closer to 3 than anything else.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that when you open a club, that's what you're most likely to have. All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I like it when I can.
One of those aha moments. So we still got you, Dan?
That are somewhat counterintuitive, right? Because I kind of felt the same way about it that you did when I heard that. It looks like I'm able to get back in here. So, now another thing I want to mention is something that hang on a sec. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So let me get in. Let me get the table reopen first and
Are you
talk
able to
later.
get back in?
I'm in Bridge Base. I'm just heading for the table. Yes, we have. Our technical difficulties are on the verge of being resolved.
I just wondered if you wanted to just call it quits today because you're not feeling well. And
no, I'm doing okay so far.
You okay? Okay.
Yeah. Start table teaching.
Okay, now I don't. Oh, there you are.
I'm on. I just haven't got the table open.
Not a problem. We'll get to you.
And now we do. All right. If you're listening, we are back open.
Okay, we're back.
So one thing I heard a lot learning to play Party Bridge at home before Duplicate and even playing duplicate, I would hear the cliche, "When in doubt, lead Trump." And because I've been taught that that's really, really bad advice, that's something else that I wanted to talk about. So there's a story now. How many people know the name Lew Matthey? Lew Matthey. Is that too old? Going back too far? Lew Matthey was one of the great American players. Never heard of him. Yeah, not alone. That's Lew, Lew. Widely regarded as among the very, very best. Yeah, there is a Matthey convention named after him. True. One of the best players of predominantly, I think, of the 60s and 50s, when guys like Eddie Cantor and Mike Lawrence and Bob Hammond were young and really good and getting established. Matthey was one of the guys who was just among the best of the slightly prior generation. I don't know how much older Matthey was than, for example, Bob Hammond, but if you read Bob Hammond's book At the Table, which is a great book, he'll talk about Hammond and Eddie Cantor and Bobby Wolf playing in their 20s, and Matthey was like the older guy that was just really, really, really good. And also, by all accounts, one of the more difficult partners. So he would play with these guys who were young and up and coming and talented, but he was just merciless if they made mistakes. And so Mike Lawrence, I think, talks about a situation where one of Matthey's partners led Trump against a hand, and it did not work out well. And Matthey, in his kind of gruff, belligerent voice, said that there's only one time to lead Trump. And the unsuspecting partner of his said, "Well, when's that?" And Matthey said, "When it's right." So now, Mike Lawrence goes on to say, that, yeah, see, that's kind of what Mike Lawrence said, that the default to that is groan, it's a joke, it's a flippant comment, he's just being a jerk. But what Lawrence explained was that it actually had a very, very serious point, which is that you lead Trump when you have a specific reason to. It shouldn't be like the default lead because you don't know what else to do. And that's the thing that Matthey was really arguing against. It's if you have a definite reason to lead Trump, then you lead Trump. But otherwise, it's definitely not a when in doubt, lead Trump kind of situation. And think about, one thing that we've talked about a lot from the beginning of these sessions is how much of the defense is based on what Declare is planning to do, right? So if Declare is planning to rough losers, we often switch to Trump in the middle of the hand. If Declare is going to set up, if there's a strong suit and dummy that losers might get pitched on, then we make an aggressive lead in a side suit. If dummy is sort of flat and balanced, then we defend as safely as possible. But the defense, there's no real inherent defensive rules that apply to all situations, or even most situations. They're all very, very dependent on the character of dummy's hand, which we can see, and Declare's hand, which we can somewhat infer from the auction, right? And a lot of defense isn't like a default, but instead it's a response or a preemptive response to what Declare is likely to do. And so a lot of times the auction sort of clues us into that ahead of time. But think about all the times that you're Declare, right? Very, very often one of the first things you're going to do as declare is draw trump. You have, more often than not, you have most of the points, which means that if you're left alone, you're probably going to take most of the tricks. But one way that the defense can kind of mess up your plans is to rough in. Now, it's not, certainly that's an idea that can be taken too far. You don't want to do it, all the time. There are many hands where you don't want to do it, but it is very, very common for declare to want to draw trump. And so one potential problem with doing that on the defense is that you're helping declare effectuate his own plan. And as we'll see, there's also a lot of holdings where it just kind of blows a trick. So then specifically, and I would always, whenever I played with somebody who said that, I would always try to impose my my own preferred cliche, which is, when in doubt, lead an unbid suit. I think in general, that's going to be much better advice. But again, we have the specifics of the auction in our hand and different different things to guide us. So so what are the specific situations that tell you that, okay, on this hand, we have a good reason to lead trump? One is when the auction tells you that there's a roughing value in dummy, or that dummy is likely to best help declare by roughs. And there's one auction in particular where it should be almost automatic. And I put this in the room. We're not bidding, only the opponents are bidding. So this is the auction where declare has two suits and dummy passes declare in the second suit, especially when the first suit is a major and the second suit is a minor. If you think about this auction, especially if you're playing pairs, most of the time, dummy is going to go back to two hearts, even with a doubleton heart and three clubs. Sometimes with a doubleton heart and four clubs, because that two club rebid, if you're playing a no trump forcing, that could be a 3-card suit. So because the majors pay better and because declare is known to have 5 hearts, dummy is going to take a preference to hearts the vast majority of the time with a doubleton heart. So this auction is advertising shortness in dummy in a suit that declare has a lot of. And a club lead on this auction is probably going to be right more than 75% of the time. It's a little bit different when the auction goes like this, and the 2 heart bid means that now promising 4 hearts, right? So you're not going to necessarily get that false preference back to spades. Dummy on this auction might have a couple of spades, but even so, in this situation, a heart lead is very likely to be right. So it's the situation where declare bids 2 suits, dummy passes the second suit. And of particular importance is what your cards look like in declare's side suit. So on, like, say, the first auction where it goes a heart, a no trump, 2 clubs, pass, what are your hearts? Because if declare is going to be roughing something, it's probably going to be heart. So if you have good hearts, you want to be even more likely to lead a heart. If you have few hearts, then it's likely that your partner has hearts, which may be winners, and it's still a good idea to protect them. The exception on that first auction might be if you have a lot of hearts that aren't any good. If you have 4 hearts to the 8, then the defense have a lot of heart winners to protect. Partner might have 2 or 3 hearts, but they're going to be in front of declare, and if declare takes, let's say, a first round finesse, if partner has king third or king jack third, It might be 1 heart trick for us and 4 for declare. But if we have good hearts behind declare, or if we have short hearts and think that partner has length, this is the auction that is really, really screaming for a heart lead. Another when to lead hearts or when to lead trump situation, when partner passes your takeout double. So it doesn't have to be like a first round takeout double. In fact, that auction is extremely rare nowadays, especially, right? You don't hear auctions that go 1 heart, double, pass, pass, pass very often. But when the auction, when the bidding gets up to the 2 level or higher, you make a takeout double and partner passes. Partner is saying that, okay, we can make enough tricks if this is the suit. And then it's sort of like the flip side of when you're declare, what do you do most of the time? Draw trump, set up your winners. So partner's sort of saying the same thing. This is our hand to take the required number of tricks, unless declare gets 1 or 2 cheap ones through roughing. Another situation, typically when we have most of the points and the opponents are obviously sacrificing, but we don't want to outbid them. So we've all seen these auctions where, let's say we bid a heart, opponents bid 2 diamonds, partner shows a good hand with a Q bid. So something like this, we open a heart, we get a 2 diamond overcall, partner's 3 diamond Q bid shows a limit raise in hearts or better for most people, which means that we have most of the points. And when the opponents bid 4 diamonds and then 5 diamonds over 4 hearts, that's a sacrifice. We have most of the points. If the opponents are getting close, this is going to probably be an auction where they get doubled. Unless you're playing with my partners, then it's an auction where I'm going to get doubled in 5 hearts. But if we're defending this hand, where if we have most of the points, where the trick's going to come from, they're going to come from roughs and scoring some of those diamonds separately. So you want to not only whack them, but usually you want to lead trump early and often. Another situation is when we've shown strength or length in the other suits aside from trump. So we go like, here comes an auction again. So let's say the auction starts like this. I open a diamond. There's a, actually my partner opens a diamond, I guess, in this auction because, my left-hand opponent's going to be the declare. So partner opens a diamond. I make a negative double. Partner raises to 2 spades. I don't want to bid 3 over 3. Maybe we only have an 8-card fit, which means most of the time you'd rather defend 3 hearts. It's going to be easier to take 5 tricks at hearts than to take 9 tricks at spades. Law of total tricks, right? But partners open a diamond. I've got spades and partner has a spade fit with me. If I also have clubs, then there's a good chance on this auction that I might lead a trump because we have stuff in the other suits. I'm less worried about declare, drawing trump and running some kind of side suit. And I'm thinking more in terms of, to get 9 tricks, declare is going to have to come up with some roughs. We have stuff in all the other suits. Declare's most likely possibility of coming up with all the tricks he needs is going to be through roughs. It kind of depends who. To some extent, it depends who did the doubling, but that's going to be similar. It's going to be similar to when partner leaves in your double, but also, when the opponents have a fit and partner doubles because so either partner leaves in your double or partner doubles rather than rather than trying to find a fit in one of your suits. Yeah, usually a good idea. It's a situation where one or both of you think that declare shouldn't be able to make the hand, and most of the time when you're theoretically right, in other words, you get the printout and you see how many tricks you could have taken, but the contract makes, it's because they've gotten cheap tricks with roughs. So yeah. Also, when well, let's talk about specific times not to lead trump. So usually it's pretty reliable that singleton trump leads are usually not a great idea. And one of the main reasons for that is that it's very, very likely to blow a trick. So, for example, I'm going to do this like west. Let's do like this. So king third is in dummy. Partner has jack 10 fourth. If we lead this suit, dummy's going to play small from king third. If partner plays the jack or the 10, it's going to lose to the ace or the queen. The king is going to show that we're out, and then declare is going to finesse partner out of the other. If we leave this suit alone, then probably declare is going to start with a couple of high cards and leave partner with the jack 10 against one high honor, right? And this is not an especially contrived situation, right? If we're short in trump, partner's probably long in trump. If partner's length includes an honor or even two honors, then most of the time, or fairly often, nothing good is going to happen to that honor if we start the suit. Here's an example where where partner has a lot in the suit, but we can still cause real problems. So there's a couple of ways that declare could play this suit, but one of the most likely one, if declare breaks this suit, is declare might lay down the ace, hoping to drop a singleton king or jack, and then lead up to the queen in dummy, queen third, right? And if declare plays the trump suit that way, east is going to get two trump tricks, right? Declare lays down the ace and east remains with the king jack behind the queen. If we lead our singleton trump, declare beats the 9 with the 10 or wins an honor with the ace, and east's two trump tricks become one trump trick. Also, doubleton honors, same idea. So if this suit is left alone, declare could pick up the suit, but one very possible way that declare might play the suit is to lead small from dummy to the queen, and then lay down the ace, hoping to drop a doubleton king. Now declare could play the jack on the second round and pin our doubleton 10, but may or may not. If we lead the suit, there's no mystery to it. Declare we lead the 10, jack, and east is just dead in the water. Sometimes when you lead a sometimes when you lead from a trump honor, you give away like an almost automatic trump trick here. So for example, small, queen, ace, and our jack is in front of the king, and we're dead. If we leave this suit alone, we're pretty much certainly gonna get a trump trick with jack third opposite queen and one. So singleton trump or trump with unsupported honors. Now, well, and the last specific example I mentioned against leading trump is when the opponents are known to have strength and a source of tricks. So if the auction goes, this time we'll be silent. One spade by declare, two hearts by dummy, promising 5, 2 spades by declare, 4 spades. Opponents have a spade fit, dummy has a good hand, dummy has 5 hearts. We could contrive a hand where declare is going to do something involving some sort of end play or double squeeze or whatever, but 95% of the time, you know how this hand is going to go. Declare is going to draw trump, set up the hearts, pitch minor suit losers on good hearts, right? Leading a trump on an auction like this is just almost guaranteed to work out horribly. You just have to lead a club or a diamond on an auction like this. Now, we talked initially on the subject of trump leads. I said there were some situations where it's probably right to lead a trump, and we know that dummy has a roughing value, especially with a weak hand without a strong side suit. When that takeout double gets passed, when you get that preference auction, but also said that, okay, there's certain holdings that you don't really want to lead trump from. Doubleton honor, queen X, jack third, whatever. So what do you do when the situation seems to call for a trump lead, but your trump holding seems to argue against it? And the final thought I'll leave you on that, if it seems from the auction that a trump lead is correct, I would say that most of the time you want to lead that trump, even if your holding seems to argue against it. Very, very often, the trick that you potentially blow because you led away from an honor or you pickled partner's honor or whatever, first of all, that may not have happened. You may not be giving away a trump trick. So you lead from queen doubleton, and instead of finding partner with jack third and you've given away a trump trick, maybe you find partner with the king third and you get the same one trump trick you would have always gotten. And secondly, even when you do give away a trick, very, very often you get it back in the form of that's one fewer rough for declare. Yeah, if a trump lead seems right, then most of the time I'm not going to worry about my holding. And also sometimes you make a trump lead from a holding where it seems so obviously bad that declarer assumes that you can't have that holding and misplays the trump suit and gives you the trick back anyway. Declarer thinks, no way are you leading a small trump from a doubleton king, and so declare finesses into you or something like that, rather than dropping the king that you've now made singleton, right? So declare has a trump, including the ace. You have a doubleton king. Obviously, you have a trump trick coming if you leave the suit alone, but it still may be right to lead the suit. So if the holding doesn't look right, but the auction suggests that a trump is right, probably a good idea to lead a trump anyway most of the time. Okay, thanks to our technical difficulties and my not knowing how this was going to go today, I do have some more specific hands on this, so maybe we'll break some of those out next week.
That sounds fantastic, Dan. It was so good to have you back.
Well, thank you very much. It is good to be back. And I will see you all on the 10th, I guess, or some of you.
That's super. Thank you very much. And I hope you get better to come. Or I'm just reading an email. I hope you get better soon.
Thanks very much. I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was last week. So
excellent. Well, you're sounding better from even the start of the lesson.
Oh, good. All right. Well, have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next
Bye.
week.